The first thing both players do is extend supply, as each player starts with one supply at the start of the game. You can also mulligan your hand if you feel you have a bad starting hand, and by doing so, you would put your hand back in the deck, shuffle everything up, and draw another 6 cards. So player 1 skips their first draw for balancing reasons, and then they move directly to the main phase. So you can see here I extend supply, which is placing a card face down into the supply area and then replacing it by drawing one more card. And then I exhaust 2 of those supply to play Kitsune Blade Maiden. That's all I can do, so I pass the turn to my opponent. Now on his turn, he does the same thing, puts down 1 card into his supply area, redraws his replacement card, and then uses 1 supply to play a Kobold Runt, which is a 1-cost card. Then he passes it over to me. I ready my units, draw a card, and then I decide which card I want to use to extend supply with. I use that. It's generally a good idea to extend supply once per turn, so you can keep tempo and make sure your supply is increasing each turn. I use 3 supply to play a Farsight Operative, which can deal 1 damage to an enemy unit. That's a perfect opportunity to take out that kobold. And then that frees up the opportunity for me to slide into the middle zone. At the end of turn, I add 1 victory point and pass it over to my opponent. So first thing he does, of course, readies up his exhausted cards, draws a card, and then thinks about what card to place down for his supply. Now out comes a Ashfang Scout, as well as a Lightfoot Outrider, both 1-cost units. And then Lightfoot Outrider also has Blitz, which means it enters ready and is able to make actions immediately. Now pass it back to my turn. I ready my units, draw my card, and then I think about what order I want to do things. So you don't have to extend supply as the first action you do each turn in your main phase. I'm actually deciding to attack first here, clear out his unit, and then decide to extend supply afterwards. So because Farsight Operative has 3 attack and 2 health, it's able to defeat his Lightfoot Outrider without dying. Now I drop a card as supply, draw a replacement card, and continue my turn. I drew a pretty powerful card here, Aegis Golem, which has a 5 health and 3 attack, and I have just the right amount of supply to play him on curve. And then I go to the end turn phase, tally up the influence points, which is 1 from Farsight Operative and 1 from the Kitsune Blade Maiden, therefore granting me 2 VP for that turn. My opponent goes through motions, draws a card, extends supply here, gets his replacement card, and then plays for 2 a Reckless Warrior. Now this unit's pretty powerful. It has the ability Glory, which allows it to earn victory points immediately upon destroying an opponent in combat. I ready my units, draw my card. I decide that the Concord Strategist is not the most useful card to me right now, so I'll extend supply and of course draw the replacement card. Now this is an opportunity to play a face down territory card, aka I drop the Hallowed Sanctum face down, and then that means you can flip it on a later turn as a counter action or even during your own main phase. I also play down this Bryn the Destroyer just as a way to keep maintaining board control. And I play my other Hallowed Sanctum as a face down card as well. Playing face down territories can be a great way to keep your opponents on their toes as they don't really know which territory you put down. And it provides a lot of flexibility as well, as you could flip it on a later turn as long as you can pay the cost. Now my opponent chooses to play this Vampire Retainer. Now this is a pretty solid card for a 1-cost because it's able to grant additional influence. Then he uses the tactic Quash Insurrection, which is able to destroy a target unit in a combat zone with cost 2 or less. And that is my Kitsune Blade Maiden. So Kitsune Blade Maiden dies, and then he uses that opportunity to put his Ashfang Scout in, which will score 2 points for him. It's my turn. I'll ready up my units again, draw my card. I decide to make my Aegis Golem attack, and it does have Provoke, so that'll make his future attacks a lot more difficult. I will supply my Grove Shaman and then draw my replacement supply card. The Farsight Operative will deal 1 damage to his Vampire Retainer, and then it applies its bonus, which we will mark with a dice, onto his Reckless Warrior. So that Reckless Warrior has 1 influence right now. I'll use 2 more supply to play a Sentinel Trooper and get some more board presence. And then just to maintain tempo, I will use Bryn to attack into that right zone. Typically, Bryn's ability allows her to avoid combat damage, so she's a really good aggressor to attack larger units. So here, I'll score 3 points, and because I have a pretty hefty lead and the opponent has no board, we'll skip ahead. Now here's an endgame board state where we can demonstrate the final turn of a game. So even though he has 2 units in the combat zones, I do have the tools I need to win the game this turn. I'll play a Vanguard Power Suit directly onto his Vanguard mech, which will give it a +2/+3 in attack and health, which is enough to defeat his Demonic Berserker. The Power Suit item also grants +1 influence, which is exactly what we would need. I'll move my Kitsune Blade Maiden to defeat his Lightfoot Outrider, and end my turn, go straight to scoring, and I have just enough to earn 4 points, which brings me to a total of 20, therefore winning the game.